All right, good afternoon, YouTube. Thank you, as always, for joining us. Been an eventful day already today, so let me show the correct screen and we'll get you up and running. Yeah, we've had news out across Europe this morning. French PMIs, manufacturing weaker than forecast, services stronger than forecast. Germany, you're going to see a pattern here. Manufacturing weaker than forecast, services stronger than forecast. Europe, manufacturing, you've guessed it. Services, you're right. And manufacturing for the UK, oh my goodness, it's weaker than forecast and the services is stronger. Everywhere, manufacturing in Europe is struggling. Everywhere, services are strengthening, or certainly strengthening relative to expectations. And indeed, as I look at the list here, strengthening nominally as well. So we managed to get ourselves back into positive territory, growth territory in France from an expectation of being below 50. We got a print of above, and everywhere else 50s, 50s, 50s across the board. And we have been getting numbers this big in the US anyway, and we've been getting it on the manufacturing side, which is something that's very different to, or certainly on the expectation side. What we were seeing in mainland Europe, we were not seeing anything in the expansionary stratosphere, all contractionary, sub 50 contractions, above 50 is expansion. You'll see that here. Above 50 industry expansion, below contraction. Right. Always good to know this. I've been looking in here at the average beats and misses for the day ahead. We have a beats. So if I'm looking at purely the services, and there's a reason for this. Well, let me maybe go through this first, because if you see here, we've got mixed data, right? So what happened to the euro on the moves today? Well, it's quite clear to see what happened. Down at 8:15 when the French PMIs came out, we had the market rally, and then at 8:30 when the German came through, we hit the high for the day. Okay, and the European one is often worth ignoring. And at 9 o'clock, we did get the same numbers, and the market came off a little bit, but the real action had already been seen. Okay, so this is clearly euro strength. Same story with the pound, right? We had that initial move on the French and the German, and then here we had that big move at 9:30 with the UK figures coming as well. So the market is responding to the strength from the services PMI. Why? Because services are a stronger component of the financial sector in Europe, or in fact in the whole Western world, right? We make very little in the West, especially here in the UK. At least Germany have a car manufacturing business, and the US do bits, right? They do have decent agriculture and biggest oil producers in the world these days. You know, there is some manufacturing processes that go on over there too. Whereas here in the sunny UK, that is very much not the case. So I think as much as in Germany and in the US, the manufacturing is greater, the services sectors are so much greater, right? Hospitality, financial services, for example, in the UK, make up a vastly greater proportion of what's going on in these economies. So that's why I'm more interested in what's going on with the services PMI on the US figures, which is why I'm not too bothered about trading the open today. You look again, just myself some bother over here. What? No. Moved up here now, has it? Okay. Yeah, okay. So the flash services PMIs are expected at 245 today, right? So this from the open to that is about as quick as we get data. Normally we have data out at 3 p.m. We have a 30-minute window to get into a good trade, get your move, and get out of your good trade, right? Now with flash services PMIs, you have 15 minutes for that to happen. I don't even like trading when there's 30 minutes available, so I will not be trading the open at 245 today. But that's kind of a big chunk of the data. If you go to, certainly on the headline data in terms of numbers, we do have a bond auction coming through today. The 2-year note auction is out at 6 o'clock tonight. I've got a feeling one of these bond auctions, the 2-year, the 5-year, or the 7-year, will move the market at some stage this week. then be prepared for a 6 o'clock auction print. You can watch this on TradingView very simply because there's no beats and misses on this. You can watch this by simply typing in US10 US02Y. This will give you the United States 2-year government bond yields. You don't have to be a genius to work this out. If the yields are going down, that's good news for stocks. If the yields are going up, less good for stocks. Yields are going up, good news for the currency. Yields going down, less good for currency. Okay? So just be aware if you're trading the indices, which I tend to. If you want to see this yield go lower, you're going to probably see the stock market rally on that news. So that's one that's coming out at 6 o'clock tonight, and then spaced out further again, we have the big earnings of the day. He says, I think a lot of people are trying to have a look at the Earnings Whispers websites ahead of the open in the US. So we'll have to go to my trusty spreadsheet, which we'll see how trusty it is. Is Tesla on the right day on this one? Here we go. Tesla due out today. Phew. At 9:05. Yeah, we're expecting that. The Microsoft and Google ones, by the way, are moved to the Thursday of this week. I need to update those myself, but for those of you who've received this, by the way, if you hover, the reason why this is in grey is that there's some conflicting views, and actually Seeking Alpha did suggest it was out on the 3rd. Similarly here, sorry, on the 25th, as they did here. So if you ever see it in grey, just make sure to check there are multiple dates if you do miss it. Always worth with these ones, just checking the day before and getting onto that Earning Whispers website before everyone else does. Really, this is a big day for earnings, and the website's clearly not capable of dealing with it. So let's drill in a little bit more to these the data. Right, we're expecting we can maybe have a look back on what the patterns have been with this. And we did have a nice run there where we did beat expectations, but prior to that, there was a lot of missing expectations. So I wouldn't say there's any clear, long-term plan that they're always kind of getting ahead of themselves on the expectations on this. So I'm kind of neutral on what direction this will go. But certainly from an average beat and miss perspective, you don't need too big a beat or a miss on the services here, just a 0.9, really 0.8 or higher. So if you're looking at 52.8 or 52.9 and higher for long dollar short gold positions, short stocks likely. And if you see a low number, 51.1 and below, you might be able to get short the dollar long gold and a lot more likely long stocks. But stocks are always a little bit funny on data, so do be careful when. So with that in mind, yeah, we'll maybe have a little scooch over to the option data, which we're now able to get slightly earlier than 2:30 to see what prices are going to potentially be in line, albeit it looks like it's going to be, we kind of look at the SPX where we currently reside. I think it needs to be updated. So we'll wait till the open for that news to come through, because that's simply not there for us. Let's take the opportunity to look at the bigger picture within these stocks. Well, it's been quite clear what the pattern has been on the kind of daily charts. We've had a little bit of weakness, haven't we, the past couple of weeks? But yesterday was that first bit of strength we'd had in a week or so. And so far today, we're getting some more strength coming through. We approach one of the biggest days in the earnings season. Wouldn't be a surprise to see it go and look up towards this point of control for the year on the futures, about 30 ticks higher than where we are now. If you see in here, there's a very little volume traded above there. So if it wants to kind of march much further through than the point of control, I'd say it's going to need, it's going to have to cross this bridge of large volume. And if it does crack through this, then in the same way that we sold off through this low volume very quickly on the way down, you may well see it rally incredibly quickly on the way down. So I think we're in a really interesting place for stocks. We have seen that longer term, which I posted on the group on the weekend, that moving average convergence divergence rolling over on the weekly for only the 4th time in 2 years. So yeah, it makes for an interesting potential trading day for this day. Looking on the short-term picture, the S&P, the Nasdaq have all been having pretty healthy looking days. The Dow has been, if you want to look at how healthy days are, right? Look at the Dow relative to the S&P. We've been dragging ourselves off the floor for 4 days in a row now, albeit one of them not too much. But if you kind of overlay the ES versus the you overlay this relative to the Dow, you can see that this was selling off much longer after the Dow did, right? The Dow was still kind of consolidating here, and again, it's managing to maybe look up towards that point here as well. Both of them very much in sight at the moment. Let's see if we can get things going. The option data for you. Still looking a little bit behind. We're getting the right price printed, but we're not getting much. Yeah, it does take a minute or two sometimes to come through. So we will let them up. Here they are. So we're seeing a lot of heavy action above price here, right? At 40, 45 on the SPX. And if you scroll down, we're getting some large gammas here around 25 and around 80s as well. So all these are potentially in play, but it looks to me fairly contained here between where we are, what, 25s, looks like slightly bigger than these, and then these clearly are the two biggest. But truth, all of the large gammas are around, what, 40, 45, and 50 today are the three biggest ones. Yeah, interested to see what that means with relation to all side of here. But yeah, maybe there's some interest down. If it does get bearish on this news, you can look as low as 80s as a potential profit-taking opportunity. If we do get some very strong PMI data, that might be the sort of catalyst that allows us to sell off maybe 50 ticks today. Who knows? Maybe it'll be the bond auction that gets it going instead, or even Tesla. That remains to be seen. But yeah, not the clearest day. Maybe there's going to be a little bit sticky if it gets into this area, making me maybe a bit cautious with my trading this afternoon. Go forward. Move back to these markets. What do we see? Well, Nasdaq's the one really getting it going today. Maybe someone knows something about Tesla's earnings early, and we're getting a real big push higher on the Nasdaq. Whereas if you roll into the Dow, we're seeing similar magnitude style decline, right? We're up maybe 30 ticks there, up 30 ticks on the Nasdaq. So yeah, on a percentage basis, Nasdaq's very much outperforming today so far. If you want to have a look at these, yeah, the Nasdaq's 0.6% up, and threading the two of them, and the S&P 4.43s and a quarter of a percentage point from the Dow. So they're all north and higher today, which you can't say of the European markets, right? The FTSE is down today. We had some strong comments out from Pill earlier, which certainly got the market moving, even to a larger degree than the data did at 9:30, right? This was Pill's comments, more volume done in here as well at the time, and that really got things moving. You can see what happened to FTSE from 12:15 time print. It was already coming off a little bit, but that's certainly here we go. Yeah, 12:15 really got that catalyst moving high. You get this inverse correlation between the pound and the FTSE. There's a lot of different components, like Shell, the biggest component, all earn in dollars. So if the pound is strengthening relative to the dollar, well, their earnings, the amount of money they're making is going down in pounds, which doesn't look good on the earnings. Right. And I mean, if we're going to get those earnings over the next few weeks from the big European components, they're going to start to come through in earnest now as we roll on. Tomorrow, if we've got any data out in the morning before we're back with you, yeah, we're looking at Australian data overnight, Australian CPI, nothing really before the open. We've got Nagel at the open. So I think all eyes on the PMIs from 245 today. Then that bond auction at 6, and then the first proper. Yeah, Netflix was out, but yeah, I think this is the first, the old Magnificent Seven, as they used to be known. And I think it's now changed a little bit because Tesla has fallen down the pecking order. Costco and Broadcom are bigger companies, certainly as a percentage of indices at these days. But yeah, what was one of the big heavyweights, one of the Magnificent Seven, is reporting the first of the season. And yeah, a couple more coming out this week. So we've got Meta tomorrow, and then Microsoft and Google out on Thursday. And a lot of the Dow components out late. The end of the big main course of Dow components. Yeah, I'll leave it there as I'm losing connection on my platforms. So I'll try and fix that out. And yeah, good luck with the earnings tonight. These Nasdaq ones are never easy, so if you can find a way to snare them, well done. Okay, have a good trading day, guys, and we'll be back with you on the normal Zooms from 7 in the morning.